Beijing, March 15th. 9:23 a.m. The sun barely breaks through the smog hanging over China's capital. 11 million people moving through their morning routines. Office towers gleaming. Subway trains packed. Street vendors setting up. Nobody knows what's about to happen. Except 3,000 miles away, something has already begun. The Taiwan Strait. 9:19 a.m. 4 minutes earlier. 18 Chinese warships conducting what Beijing calls routine naval exercises, but these aren't routine. Intelligence satellites watching from space see the pattern. Attack formation. Not drills, not exercises. Invasion prep. And on the island of Taiwan, 23 million people are waking up to their final hours of peace. Because in exactly 90 minutes, China will make the decision that changes everything. The order that triggers the most devastating 72 minutes of naval and air combat since World War II. This is that story. The story of how China tried to take Taiwan by force. And how the United States Navy turned the Taiwan Strait into a graveyard. 72 minutes. 300 ships and aircraft. One miscalculation that cost everything. Taiwan, Taipei, 9:23 a.m. The presidential office building stands quiet. Inside, President Chen Wei-ting is reviewing economic reports. Standard morning briefing. Trade numbers, investment data. Normal Thursday. Then her phone rings. Not her regular phone, the red one. Direct line from Taiwan's military command. Madam President, we have a situation. Chinese naval forces are moving into attack positions. 18 warships. 4 amphibious assault ships. 2 aircraft carriers. This isn't an exercise anymore, they're preparing to strike. President Chen has prepared for this moment her entire political career. Every war game, every simulation, every nightmare scenario. Taiwan has always known this day might come. The day China stops threatening and starts moving. She reaches for the other phone, the direct line to Washington. To the White House. To the only country that might help Taiwan survive the next 2 hours. Because 3,000 miles away in Washington, D.C., it's 8:23 p.m. the previous evening. The president is in the Situation Room, and he already knows. American satellites have been watching the Chinese fleet for 6 hours, tracking every ship, monitoring every communication, counting every aircraft on those carrier decks. The intelligence briefing was clear: China is going to invade Taiwan. Not next week. Not tomorrow, today, in the next 90 minutes. And America has already made its decision. 3 weeks ago, in a classified meeting, the president signed the authorization. If China moves to invade Taiwan, the United States will respond with immediate military force. Not sanctions, not diplomacy. Not United Nations resolutions. Immediate military strike. Full combat engagement. Because once Chinese forces land on Taiwan, the war is already lost. The only chance is to stop them before they reach the beaches. Stop them in the strait. Stop them in the air. Stop them before the invasion begins. But the most significant impact is in Beijing. The leadership faces reality. Their invasion failed. Their fleet destroyed. Their missiles intercepted. Their military infrastructure demolished. Years of planning. Decades of preparation. Billions of dollars in equipment. Gone in 72 minutes. And Taiwan is still free. Still independent. Still protected by American forces. The Chinese Communist Party faces the hardest question. What now? They can't invade Taiwan. The U.S. Navy just proved that they'll sink every ship. They can't launch missiles. American interceptors shot down everything. They can't escalate. Their facilities are already destroyed. They're left with nothing but propaganda and denial. Claiming victory while their ships rest at the bottom of the strait. While their soldiers are buried at sea. While their carriers are underwater graveyards. This is Operation Pacific Shield. This is how America defends Taiwan. This is how naval power works in the 21st century. Not battleships trading broadsides. Not surface fleets engaging in gun duels. Submarines striking unseen. Aircraft launching missiles from beyond visual range. Stealth bombers dropping precision weapons. Electronic warfare blinding defenses. Overwhelming technological superiority. Devastating speed. Total coordination. 72 minutes. Chinese invasion fleet approaches Taiwan. American submarines strike. 4 amphibious assault ships sunk. 6,000 troops in the water. American fighters engage. 32 Chinese aircraft destroyed. Air superiority established. American strike aircraft attack. 2 carriers hit with 178 missiles, both sinking. 14 destroyers destroyed. Chinese missiles launched toward Okinawa. American interceptors engage. 7 missiles destroyed. 0 hits. Chinese territory struck. 616 Tomahawks. 960 precision bombs. 53 missile facilities destroyed. Complete mission success. And at 12:47 p.m., exactly 72 minutes after the first torpedo launch, Admiral Webb reports to the President. Mr. President, Operation Pacific Shield is complete. Chinese invasion fleet destroyed. Taiwan secure. American forces ready for any further Chinese action. Mission accomplished. The President's response is brief. Well done, Admiral. Send message to Beijing. Taiwan remains free. And America keeps its promises. We defend our allies. We protect democracy. We win. This is the story of 72 minutes that changed everything. The day China tried to take Taiwan. The day America said no. The day the Taiwan Strait became a graveyard for an invasion fleet. 18 ships sunk. 2 carriers destroyed. Thousands killed. Military facilities demolished. Invasion stopped. Taiwan saved. Freedom defended. Never invade Taiwan while the U.S. Navy is watching. Never cross that line while American submarines patrol those waters. Never launch missiles while American Aegis destroyers are tracking. Never assume America won't fight. Never assume American allies are undefended, because the response doesn't take days. Doesn't take hours. Takes 72 minutes. And when it's over, your invasion fleet is underwater. Your carriers are sinking. Your soldiers are gone. Your military infrastructure is destroyed. Your plans are ruined. This is American naval power. This is how alliances work. This is how democracies defend freedom. 72 minutes, complete devastation, total victory. Taiwan remains free. At 12:15 p.m., Chinese state media goes silent. No announcements, no explanations, no propaganda. Because they can't explain what happened. How an invasion fleet was annihilated. How the United States Navy destroyed 18 ships in 60 minutes. How every missile they fired was intercepted. How their military facilities were demolished before they could respond. When Chinese media finally reports 18 hours later, the story is different. Routine naval exercises successfully completed. Minor equipment malfunctions caused some vessels to return to port. American forces conducted illegal provocations in international waters. China remains committed to peaceful reunification. Complete denial. But satellite imagery shows the truth. 18 ships sunk. 2 carriers underwater. Smoke rising from destroyed facilities along the coast. Oil slicks spreading across the Taiwan Strait. The Pentagon releases selected reconnaissance photos. Before and after images. Chinese fleet steaming toward Taiwan. Then burning wrecks sinking beneath the waves. Message to Beijing. This is what happens when you try to invade Taiwan. This is what American naval power looks like. This is why you don't cross that line. Global reaction is immediate. China's invasion of Taiwan ends in catastrophic defeat. U.S. Navy destroys Chinese fleet in 72 minutes. 2 aircraft carriers sunk. 18 ships destroyed. Invasion stopped before reaching beaches. Taiwan celebrates. Streets filled with people. Flags waving. President Chen addresses the nation. Today China tried to take our freedom. American forces and our allies stopped them. Taiwan remains free. We remain independent. We remain strong. In Washington, the president speaks. China chose to invade. We chose to defend our ally. This is what happens when you threaten democracy. This is what happens when you attack Taiwan. American forces will always defend freedom. Always protect our allies. Always respond with overwhelming force. Japan watches carefully. Seeing American naval power in action, South Korea takes notes. Australia reinforces its commitment. The entire Indo-Pacific region sees the message. America defends Taiwan. America will fight. America will win. The president looks at the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Admiral Marcus Webb. 38 years in the Navy. Commanded carrier strike groups. Planned operations in 3 war zones. And now planning the largest naval engagement in 70 years. Admiral, what are our forces in position? Mr. President, We have USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group 80 miles east of Taiwan. 90 aircraft ready. USS Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group 120 miles south. 85 aircraft. USS America Amphibious Assault Ship with 24 F-35BS. 4 Los Angeles-class attack submarines already in the strait. 2 Virginia-class subs moving into position. AP-1B Lancer bombers in Guam loaded with long-range anti-ship missiles. Japanese self-defense force has committed 12 ships and 40 aircraft. Australian Navy deploying 3 destroyers. Total Allied forces, 42 ships, 263 aircraft, 6 submarines. All weapons free authorization ready. The president doesn't hesitate. The moment Chinese forces cross into Taiwan's territorial waters, you engage. Full combat operations. Sink their invasion fleet. Destroy their air cover. End this before it starts. Authorization granted. Execute immediately. Taiwan Strait. 10:41 a.m., the Chinese invasion fleet begins moving. 18 warships. 4 massive amphibious assault ships, each carrying 1,500 troops and 50 armored vehicles. 2 aircraft carriers launching J-15 fighters for air cover. The formation spreads across 30 miles of ocean, heading toward Taiwan's western coast. Destination, the beaches near Taichung. The landing zones where Chinese forces plan to establish their beachhead, where thousands of troops will pour onto Taiwanese soil, where the invasion will begin. But they don't know what's waiting. 70 miles east, beneath the waves, USS Mississippi, a Virginia-class attack submarine, is tracking every ship. Sonar contact on 18 surface vessels, multiple large targets, amphibious assault ships. The submarine captain has his orders. Wait for Chinese forces to cross the median line of the Taiwan Strait, the invisible boundary that marks Taiwan's territorial waters. Once they cross, weapons free, engage at will. At 10:47 a.m., the lead Chinese destroyer crosses the line, 62 miles from Taiwan's coast. The moment it happens, the USS Mississippi captain gives the order. Fire tubes 1 through 4. Target the amphibious assault ships. Mark 48 torpedoes away. 4 torpedoes launch from the submarine. Running deep. Guidance systems active. Tracking their targets. Speed 45 knots. Time to impact 8 minutes. And the Chinese fleet has no idea what's coming. Because 800 miles away, something else is already in motion. Guam Anderson Air Force Base. 10:38 a.m. 3 minutes before the Chinese fleet crossed into Taiwan's waters. 8 B-1B Lancer bombers take off, each one carrying 24 AGM-158C long-range anti-ship missiles. Range, 500 miles. Targets, the Chinese aircraft carriers. Without air cover, the invasion fleet is helpless. Destroy the carriers and Chinese fighters fall from the sky with nowhere to land. The bombers climb to 40,000 feet, heading northwest at 600 miles per hour. Flight time to launch position, 62 minutes. But they won't need that long. Because at 10:52 a.m., the first torpedo hits, Chinese amphibious assault ship Yuzhou class. 8,000 tons, 1,500 troops on board. The Mark 48 torpedo strikes below the waterline, right beneath the engine room. The explosion tears through steel hull plating. Water floods into the ship. Emergency alarms. Soldiers scrambling, bulkhead sealing. But the damage is catastrophic. The ship lists 15 degrees, then 25. The captain orders abandon ship. Troops jumping into the water, life rafts deploying. And 1 minute later, the second torpedo hits another assault ship, same result. Massive explosion. Flooding, listing, sinking. Within 4 minutes, all 4 Chinese amphibious assault ships are hit. 4 torpedoes, 4 perfect strikes. 6,000 Chinese soldiers in the water. The invasion force drowning before it ever reaches Taiwan. And the Chinese fleet suddenly realizes they're under attack. Submarine contact. American sub in the area. Destroyers moving to engage. Anti-submarine helicopters launching. Searching for the USS Mississippi. But the submarine has already gone silent. Diving deep. Moving away. Mission accomplished. 4 invasion ships destroyed. 6,000 troops neutralized. But that's just the beginning. At 10:54 a.m., 90 aircraft launch from 2 American aircraft carriers, FA-18 Super Hornets. EA-18G Growlers for electronic warfare. E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft. The formation splits into 3 strike packages. Package Alpha, 24 fighters heading for the Chinese carriers. Package Bravo, 36 fighters targeting the Chinese destroyers and support ships. Package Charlie, 24 fighters establishing air superiority, engaging any Chinese aircraft that tries to interfere, and the Chinese see them coming. Radar contacts. Dozens of aircraft. American fighters inbound. The Chinese carriers launch every available J-15. 32 fighters scrambling, racing to intercept, protect the fleet. But American electronic warfare has already started. EA-18G Growlers jamming Chinese radar, spoofing their missile systems, creating false targets, blinding their defenses. The Chinese pilots can't get clean locks, their missiles won't track, and the American fighters close in. At 10:58 a.m., the air battle begins. Package Charlie engages Chinese J-15s, AIM-120 missiles launching. Beyond visual range combat, American pilots don't even see their targets. Just radar signatures. Lock. Fire. Track 12 Chinese fighters destroyed in the first 90 seconds. The remaining J-15s break formation, trying to evade, but more missiles incoming. Within 4 minutes, 28 of 32 Chinese fighters are shot down. 4 survivors retreating back toward the carriers. The air superiority battle is over. China lost. And now nothing stands between American strike aircraft and the Chinese fleet. At 11:03 a.m., Package Alpha reaches launch position. 24 F-18 Super Hornets, each carrying 4 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles. 96 missiles total. Targets the 2 Chinese aircraft carriers, Shandong class, 60,000 tons each. 40 aircraft on board, the nerve center of China's invasion fleet. The fighters launch, 96 Harpoon missiles drop from wing pylons. Rockets ignite. Missiles accelerate, skimming 15 feet above the ocean. Radar guided. Lock on target. Incoming. Chinese carriers detect the missiles. Point defense systems activate. Close-in weapon systems firing, trying to shoot down incoming missiles. But there are too many. 96 missiles converging from 3 directions. Saturation attack. The Chinese systems destroy 18 missiles. 78 get through. At 11:07 a.m., the first Harpoon hits the carrier Shandong. 1,000-pound warhead detonates against the ship's hull. Explosion rips through steel. Fire erupts. Then another missile hits, and another. 40 missiles strike Shandong in 30 seconds. The flight deck erupts in flames. Aircraft explode. Fuel ignites. Secondary explosions tearing through the ship. The carrier lists, taking water. And it's not alone. The second carrier takes 38 missile hits. Same devastation, flight deck destroyed. Aircraft burning, ship listing. Both carriers are finished. Burning. Sinking. Within 15 minutes, both will be underwater. And the Chinese fleet is now completely exposed. No air cover, no defense. At 11:09 a.m., Package Bravo engages. 36 Super Hornets targeting the remaining Chinese destroyers and support ships. More Harpoon missiles launching. 72 missiles inbound, Chinese ships trying to defend. Surface-to-air missiles firing. But without coordinated air defense from the carriers, they're overwhelmed. Missiles hitting. Destroyers exploding. Frigates burning, supply ships sinking. By 11:15 a.m., 14 Chinese warships are destroyed or sinking. The Taiwan Strait is chaos. Ships burning. Sailors in the water. Oil slicks spreading. Debris everywhere. And 800 miles away, the B-1B bombers haven't even launched their missiles yet. Because they're not needed anymore. The Chinese invasion fleet is already destroyed. But the battle isn't over. Because at 10:52 a.m., when the first American torpedo struck, China made another decision. If the invasion fleet is under attack, escalate. Strike American bases. Hit Okinawa where U.S. forces operate. Attack Guam where the bombers launched from. Expand the war. Beijing authorizes missile strikes on U.S. military installations. 50 DF-26 intermediate-range ballistic missiles prepare to launch. Targets selected. American air bases. Naval facilities. Command centers. But U.S. intelligence is already watching. Satellites detect the missile preparation, thermal signatures. Launcher movements. The warning goes out. Chinese ballistic missile launch imminent, and the American response is already moving. At 11:18 a.m., 12 U.S. Air Force B-2 Spirit stealth bombers that have been orbiting over the Philippine Sea receive new orders. Abort anti-ship mission. New targets. Chinese missile launch facilities. Each B-2 carries 80 GBU-39 small-diameter bombs, precision-guided, GPS-targeted. The bombers turn northwest, heading for mainland China, flight time 38 minutes. But they won't need that long either, because at 11:21 a.m., something unprecedented happens. 7 Chinese DF-26 missiles launch from Fujian province. Aimed at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa, the missiles climb. Arc over the East China Sea. Flight time, 12 minutes. Impact at 11:33 a.m. But American Aegis destroyers positioned between China and Okinawa detect the launch immediately. Radar tracking. SM-3 interceptors launching, racing to intercept. 6 destroyers fire 32 SM-3 missiles. Engaging the incoming Chinese missiles in mid-course phase, 200 miles up, space intercepts. At 11:27 a.m. the first SM-3 hits. Chinese missile destroyed. Explosion in the upper atmosphere. Then another hit. Another intercept. Within 90 seconds, all 7 Chinese missiles are destroyed. Complete intercept. 0 missiles reach Okinawa. The base is safe. But China just crossed a line. They fired missiles at American territory. Attacked a U.S. military installation. And now, everything changes. At 11:29 a.m., the U.S. president authorizes Phase 2, strike Chinese missile facilities. Destroy their launch capability. Eliminate their ability to threaten American forces. The B-2 bombers accelerate. Targets confirmed. And 4 U.S. Navy Ohio-class submarines carrying Tomahawk cruise missiles receive firing orders, 154 Tomahawks per submarine. 616 missiles total. Targets every Chinese missile facility within 500 miles of the coast, every radar installation, every command center, every air defense system. Complete suppression of Chinese offensive capability. At 11:34 a.m., the submarines fire. 616 Tomahawk missiles launch from underwater. The missiles surface, ignite, accelerate, flying toward mainland China. Low altitude. Terrain following. Targets programmed. And the B-2 bombers cross into Chinese airspace. Stealth technology making them invisible to Chinese radar. They don't know the bombers are there. At 11:41 a.m., the first Tomahawks hit. Chinese radar installations destroyed. Air defense sites obliterated. Command bunkers struck. Explosions across Fujian province. Missile launch facilities blown apart. And the B-2 South dropped their bombs. 960 precision weapons falling on Chinese military targets. Storage facilities destroyed. Assembly buildings collapsed. Launch vehicles eliminated. By 11:53 a.m., 53 minutes after the battle began, it's effectively over. Chinese invasion fleet destroyed. 18 ships sunk. 2 aircraft carriers at the bottom of the Taiwan Strait. 6,000 troops killed. 32 aircraft shot down. Chinese missile facilities across Fujian province demolished, launch capability eliminated, command centers destroyed. And American forces report minimal losses. 3 aircraft damaged. 1 destroyer hit by anti-ship missile but still operational. 0 American ships sunk. 0 aircraft lost. 22 personnel wounded. None killed. Taiwan is safe. The invasion stopped before it started. The Chinese fleet destroyed in the Taiwan Strait. And Beijing faces a catastrophic defeat. The largest naval loss since World War II, 18 warships sunk in 1 hour. 2 aircraft carriers destroyed. Thousands of soldiers killed. Military infrastructure along the entire coast demolished. And the invasion of Taiwan ended before a single Chinese soldier reached the beaches.